Hello and welcome to Just the Tips. Today we're going to be talking about how to load your gun, or better yet, some good techniques on how to load your spear gun in order to make it easier for you. You see, I hear quite a bit from people, not either dinosaurs, but people, that they're having trouble loading particularly larger guns or more powerful guns. This comes down a lot in part less to the strength of the person and more to, let's say, how they're loading the gun. So I've brought this GIMP here from Adreno in to show you all how to, load your gun with better technique that will enable you to be able to spend more time on the water and get less exhausted by the end of the day. So without further ado, I hand you over to the GIMP. Thank you. My turn. Okay, up first we're going to go with a long gun with standard length rubbers, so not too tight, and we're loading onto tabs, not notches. Okay, so first up, your dominant hand goes on the butt. I'm right-handed, so it's my right hand. Then make sure your finger is nowhere near the trigger. This is always important. Next, take your other hand and grab the rubber, push with your butt hand towards your hand that's holding the rubber, then pivot the gun so it's sitting on your solar plex. Then you can take your other arm, come up and grab the rubber, having your thumbs facing towards you and to the inside, and pull that rubber down and engage it on the tab. Once that one is engaged on the tab, again, make sure your finger's nowhere near the trigger, and repeat the process for the other rubber, bringing it down past the rubber you've already loaded onto the next tab behind it. This way your two rubbers are running parallel and they're not crossing over each other, so that when you shoot it will be a lot smoother and just give you a bit more accuracy. The next thing you want to do is get that line, your shooting line. You want to make sure it's outside of your rubbers, so when it fires, it loops behind your rubbers, coming through the muzzle. Otherwise, when it fires, those rubbers are going to grab that line, causing what is lovely known as a muzzle wrap, which can make you lose fish, or on a real gun in particular, lose your gun. So, always make sure you've cleared it at the back and run it all the way up to the front, so that it's also running parallel with your rubbers and nothing is crossing over each other. Okay, now we're moving on to a notched shaft. So the GIMP here will demonstrate what you should and shouldn't do when loading a notch shaft. The most important thing to never do is take your Dyneema bridle and click it over that notch, because every time you click it, that notch is cutting into your bridle. So you want to lift it up, come down, and then back in from behind. Never click, up, down, and back in. Okay. Another thing I forgot to get the GIMP to demonstrate while he was here is you should never adjust your bridle in the notch, which means shifting it from side to side to even up the rubbers, because this also shreds your bridles. Okay, so now we're working on a gun that has separate holes for each rubber on the muzzle. Some have 2, some have 3. This is the old Omo head, so it just has 2. Now, to load these correctly, you want to load the rubber that's furthest away from you to the notch that's also furthest away from you. This way, when you load the second rubber, it's out of the way. So to do this, you flick the rubber that's closest to you out of the way, pulling the rubber that's further away through that rubber to load it. Now when you take the second rubber, you can load that underneath and over and past the first rubber, this keeping them parallel and in line and nice and smooth. We do this so that they're not crossing over each other. The reason you don't want the rubbers crossing over each other and making a big mess, firstly is it gets in the way of your view, therefore it makes it harder for you to aim. It also causes the two rubbers to interfere with each other when you fire. This causes a bit more of a jerky shot motion and can interfere with your accuracy. And then, like on the last gun, you take your shooting line, take it out the back and run it all the way up to the front, so it's also parallel with the other rubbers. This way everything's running nice and parallel and it won't interfere with your shot. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the wrong way, or the wrong order to load it, so the rubbers are crossing over each other, just so you can see what it looks like, so that you don't make the same mistake yourself. So you see here I've just loaded the closest rubber first, and then the furthest rubber second. And you'll notice that they cross over each other, and get everything all fouled up. So it makes it much harder to aim, much harder to take a nice clean shot. See? Ew, all ugly, crossy ovary. Ugh. Next, the GIMP is going to demonstrate where you should have your gun on your body when you're loading it. Now, the older guns you used to hip load, they were short and not so powerful of a rubber, so you could do that. Now you're just going to hurt your lower back. Hips are for dancing, not loading spear guns. On your sternum, also not a good idea. It's hard, it's not padded, it's going to hurt you by the end of the day. Now you want to come to the bottom of your sternum, where the top of your solar plex is. That way it's a softer area, there's padding, you can tense it to hold it in place, and And you can also use the muscles of your stomach to support that gun to make sure it doesn't slide off anywhere and give you any injuries. So I'll let the Gimp summarise in his own gimpy way. Oh, who's a good Gimp? Come on back inside now. We'll wrap this up for the people at home. Thanks for that, Gimp. And thank you at home for watching. Hopefully this will help you loading those larger, more powerful guns. It's particularly for the newer divers who don't really get to see people anymore loading their guns to kind of pick it up, but hopefully it'll help some of the more experienced divers too that just may not know these little tips and tricks. Well, Gimp, did you have fun? Yes, I did. What is wrong with you? I have a puppet too. Look, my puppet's here. Seriously, how do these people find me? Well, we'll catch you next time for another helpful episode of Just the Tips. Maybe just me. He may be like... I may have to get him put somewhere. For his own safety. Bye. Bye-bye.